What happens when Hollywood's most intimidating actor clashes with one of television's sweetest hosts over a question that crossed the line? Last night, on The Jennifer Hudson Show, Samuel L. Jackson and Jennifer Hudson went from friendly conversation to explosive argument in a confrontation that ended with security stepping in. It only took 45 seconds for everything to fall apart. Before we get into this absolute chaos, hit that subscribe button right now. We bring you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the confrontations that producers desperately try to hide, and the drama that explodes when celebrities lose control on live television. Last night's episode of The Jennifer Hudson Show was supposed to be a celebration of Samuel L. Jackson's legendary career spanning decades. The producers had planned it all out carefully. They would discuss his iconic roles, his journey to stardom, his incredible body of work, his upcoming projects. The set was decorated beautifully, with photos from his most famous films displayed on screens behind them. The audience was pumped with excitement, many of them lifelong fans who'd grown up watching his movies. Jennifer seemed genuinely honored and thrilled to have him as a guest. It was supposed to be a feel-good segment that everyone would enjoy, the kind of interview that reminds people why they love movies and the actors who bring stories to life. But from the very moment Samuel walked onto that stage, something felt different. His energy was noticeably guarded. His usual charisma and larger-than-life presence seemed deliberately dialed back, and anyone paying close attention could sense an underlying tension beneath the surface. Something was off, though nobody could quite put their finger on what it was yet. The audience erupted in applause as Samuel made his entrance, their excitement genuine and loud. Jennifer greeted him with her signature warmth, that genuine enthusiasm and kindness she's become known for. Since launching her show, she stood up from her seat, walked over to him with a bright, welcoming smile, and they hugged briefly. But even that hug seemed stiff, formal, mechanical. Not the relaxed, comfortable, warm greeting you'd expect between two industry veterans who've known each other for years. There was something cold about it, something distant. They separated quickly and sat down together on the interview couch, and Jennifer immediately launched into her prepared introduction, trying to set an upbeat tone. "Samuel L. Jackson, everybody!" Jennifer announced enthusiastically to the applauding studio audience, her voice full of genuine excitement. "I am so thrilled to have you here today. This is such an honor for me. We've been looking forward to this conversation all week. I mean, you're a legend. An absolute legend in this industry." "Good to be here, Jennifer," Samuel replied, his famous deep voice filling the studio with that distinctive tone everyone recognizes instantly. But something about his delivery was flat, measured, controlled. Not the animated, engaging Samuel that audiences usually see in interviews, not the storyteller who captivates everyone with his energy. "Thanks for having me on your show." Jennifer, ever the consummate professional, pushed forward with positive energy and enthusiasm, determined to make this work. "So, Samuel, we absolutely have to talk about your incredible career. I mean, you've been in over 100 films at this point. You've worked with literally every major director in Hollywood: Tarantino, Spielberg, the Coens, Spike Lee, and you're still going strong, still taking on challenging roles. What's the secret? How do you keep that fire, that passion alive after all these years in this demanding industry?" Samuel shifted his position in his seat, taking what felt like an unusually long moment before answering. His body language was closed off, guarded. "You just love what you do, that's all. You stay hungry. You don't get comfortable or complacent. You keep challenging yourself with different roles, different directors, different stories to tell. That's it. That's the secret." His answer was fine on the surface, but it was notably short, clipped, lacking the detail and warmth you'd expect. Jennifer tried to pull more out of him, asking enthusiastic follow-up questions about specific films, about working with certain legendary directors, about memorable moments on set. Samuel answered each question dutifully, but his responses remained consistently brief and surface level. He wasn't giving her anything substantial to work with. Nothing for the audience to really connect with or get excited about. The energy was distinctly off, and you could visibly see Jennifer starting to work harder and harder to keep things flowing, to maintain momentum, to extract something interesting from this conversation. She tried switching approaches, asking about his family, his personal life outside of Hollywood, hoping to warm things up and find common ground. You've been married for a very long time, which is honestly rare and beautiful in this industry. What's the key to making a relationship work when you're both in this crazy business? Communication, honesty, mutual respect, Samuel said simply, almost robotically. Again brief. Again not the engaging storyteller he's known to be in interviews. No funny anecdotes, no sweet stories, no real emotion. Jennifer laughed a little nervously, clearly sensing that something wasn't clicking here, that this interview wasn't going the way she'd hoped or planned. The audience was quiet, politely attentive, but waiting for the interview to catch fire the way these things usually do with big stars. But it wasn't happening. There was a wall up between them, invisible but definitely there, and nobody in the studio understood why it existed. Then Jennifer made a decision that would change everything. She glanced down at her note cards, seemed to hesitate for just a second, as if debating whether to go forward with what she was about to ask, then looked back up at Samuel with a more serious, contemplative expression on her face. The shift in her demeanor was noticeable. The playfulness was gone, replaced by something more journalistic. Samuel, I want to ask you about something that's been discussed quite a bit in the industry lately. Something I think is important to address. Jennifer began, her voice taking on a more serious tone. There's been ongoing conversation about representation in Hollywood, about opportunities for black actors and actresses, about the types of roles that are offered to us versus the roles that go to white actors. You've been incredibly outspoken about these issues throughout your long career. You've advocated loudly for better representation, for more diverse storytelling, for equal pay. But some people, some critics and cultural commentators have pointed out that you've also taken certain roles over the years that some consider stereotypical or potentially problematic. Roles that some feel might perpetuate certain stereotypes about black men. How do you personally balance being such a strong advocate for better representation in the industry while also making career choices that some people feel might contradict that advocacy? The change in Samuel's demeanor was instant, dramatic, and impossible to miss. His entire body tensed up visibly. His jaw clenched so tight you could see the muscles working. His relaxed posture completely disappeared, replaced by coiled tension. His eyes, which had been somewhat disengaged and distant throughout the interview, suddenly locked onto Jennifer with laser-sharp focus. The temperature in the studio seemed to drop 10 degrees in a single second. The energy shifted so dramatically that people in the audience actually shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Excuse me? Samuel's voice was low, dangerous, with that edge he brings to his most intense film roles. But this wasn't acting. This was real. What did you just ask me? Repeat that question. Jennifer, realizing she definitely struck a nerve, but seemingly committed to pursuing this line of questioning, pressed forward rather than backing off. I'm asking how you personally reconcile advocating loudly for better roles and better representation for black actors, while also taking roles that some critics say reinforce harmful stereotypes. It's a question that's been raised by some prominent voices in the black community, some cultural critics. I think it's worth exploring. Some voices, Samuel repeated slowly, his voice absolutely dripping with contempt and anger. What voices exactly? Whose voices are you talking about? Because I'd love to know specifically who's questioning my choices, my career decisions, my judgment about what roles I take and why I take them. Give me names. The audience was dead silent now, frozen in their seats. This wasn't the friendly, warm conversation they'd expected when they came to the studio today. This was something else entirely, something uncomfortable and tense. Jennifer sat up straighter, clearly not expecting this level of immediate hostility and pushback. Her expression showed surprise, mixed with determination. "I'm not attacking you, Samuel," Jennifer said, though her voice had less confidence than before. "I'm not trying to attack you at all. I'm asking a legitimate question about a topic that's been discussed publicly in articles and podcasts and panels. About the complexity of navigating Hollywood as a black actor. About the difficult choices we all face in this industry. You think I don't know about that complexity?" Samuel's voice was rising now, his famous intensity coming through in a way that felt genuinely threatening rather than entertaining. "You think I haven't personally lived that complexity every single day of my career? Every single day of my life? Since I started in this business? And now, you're sitting here in your comfortable chair on your show questioning my choices like I haven't thought longer and harder about this than anyone in this damn room? That's not what I'm doing," Jennifer protested, but her voice was notably less confident now, wavering slightly. "I'm not questioning your thought process. I'm giving you an opportunity to address the criticism that exists, to share your personal perspective on it, to explain your thinking to your fans and to critics." "Criticism?" Samuel leaned forward aggressively, his imposing presence suddenly dominating the entire set, filling every inch of space. "You want to talk about criticism? Let's talk about who gets to criticize black actors for the choices they make to survive and thrive in this industry. Let's talk about who the hell appointed themselves the judges of what's acceptable for me to do with my own career, with opportunities I've earned through decades of hard work." Jennifer tried to interject, raising her hand slightly. "Samuel, I think you're misunderstanding." "No." Samuel cut her off sharply, his voice like a whip. "You brought this up. You made this choice to go there. So we're going to talk about it fully. You want to sit here and question whether I'm a good enough advocate? Whether my choices are pure enough? Whether I'm black enough in the right ways? Whether I'm doing enough for the culture? Is that what this is really about?" "I never said anything about you not being enough," Jennifer protested, her voice shaking slightly now, emotion creeping in. "That's not what I meant at all. That's not remotely what I was trying to say. I was asking about the balance between advocacy and practical career decisions. That's completely different." "The balance?" Samuel's voice got even louder, filling every corner of the studio. "There's no balance to discuss here. There's no equation to solve. I take roles that interest me intellectually. I take roles that challenge me as an actor. I take roles that pay me what I'm worth after decades in this business. And I don't answer to anyone about those choices, except myself and my family. Certainly not to talk show hosts looking for a controversial viral moment for their social media." That last line hit Jennifer hard. You could see it land on her face like a physical blow. Her expression shifted rapidly from defensive to genuinely hurt to angry in quick succession. "That's not fair, Samuel. That's really not fair at all. I asked a question that's been raised in legitimate public discourse about representation. That's my job as an interviewer, to ask challenging questions, to explore complex topics. Your job?" Samuel's laugh was bitter, harsh, completely devoid of any humor. "Your job is to, what, exactly? Ambush your guests with loaded, accusatory questions? Make them sit here and defend their entire careers on your couch in front of your audience? Is that what you think good interviewing is? Is that what they taught you?" The tension was absolutely suffocating now, pressing down on everyone in the studio. Crew members behind the cameras were looking at each other nervously, unsure if they should intervene, unsure if they should cut to commercial, just frozen. The audience sat in stunned, uncomfortable silence, not knowing how to react. Jennifer's producers standing off to the side looked panicked, making frantic gestures. Jennifer's voice took on a harder edge as she responded, her own frustration and anger building. "I didn't ambush you, Samuel. This is a topic you yourself have discussed before in other interviews over the years. You've talked publicly about representation, about the industry's deep problems, about what needs to change. I'm asking you to expand on those previous thoughts in the context of your own career choices. That's not an ambush. That's a follow-up to conversations you've already had publicly. In the context of my own work, Samuel repeated, his voice mocking and angry. You mean you want me to sit here and explain and justify every single role I've ever taken in my entire career? You want me to apologize for having a successful, lucrative, acclaimed career that spanned decades? Because that's really what it sounds like. That's what this question actually is, beneath all the polite framing. Nobody's asking you to apologize for your success, Jennifer said, her voice rising steadily to match his intensity, her own emotions coming through now. But you can't spend years talking publicly about systemic problems in Hollywood, about racism in casting, about stereotyping, and then act completely offended and shut down when someone asks you about your own place in that system. You're part of that system, Samuel. We all are. My place in that system? Samuel stood up now abruptly, towering over the set with his full height, his imposing physical presence becoming even more apparent. Several audience members actually gasped, audibly at the sudden movement. My place in that system is that I survived it when it tried to break me. I thrived in it when it told me I couldn't. I opened doors that were slammed shut in my face repeatedly. I made money that gave me power to make choices on my own terms. And I did all of that while being exactly who I am. Not who people like you or anyone else think I should be, to fit their narrow definition of acceptable blackness. People like me? Jennifer stood up too now, not backing down despite the clear physical size difference, her voice sharp. What exactly does that mean, Samuel? People like me? What are you implying? I'm asking legitimate questions as a black woman in this industry too. I have my own perspective on these issues as well. I've faced my own struggles and challenges. Then you should know better. Samuel fired back immediately, his voice hard as steel. You should absolutely know better than to play these kinds of games with someone who's been in this industry longer than you've been alive. You should know what it's like to have people constantly questioning whether you're doing it right, whether you're black enough, whether you're representing the community properly, whether your choices meet everyone's standards. And yet here you are, doing exactly that to me. Doing the same thing that's been done to both of us. Jennifer's eyes were visibly watering now, whether from anger or hurt or both. Her voice cracked slightly with emotion. I'm not doing that to you, Samuel. I promise you that's not my intention. I'm trying to have a real conversation about important, complex issues. Issues that matter deeply to a lot of people who look like us, who struggle in this industry like we have. Don't do that. Samuel's voice was sharp, cutting. Don't hide behind people who look like us when you're the one attacking me right now. Own your question. Own what you're really asking, which is whether my career choices, my roles, my decisions meet your standards of what a black actor should be. Whether I'm doing enough, whether I'm black enough in the right ways. Just say it plainly. That is absolutely not what I'm asking. Jennifer's voice cracked completely with emotion, her composure shattering. You're putting words in my mouth and twisting everything I'm saying into something it's not. I asked one reasonable question about how you navigate these complex issues, and you've turned it into this massive, explosive confrontation that it never needed to be. Because it was confrontational from the very start, Samuel shot back without hesitation. The question was designed and framed to put me on the defensive from the first word. It was designed to make me justify myself, to explain myself, to defend decades of choices. And I'm not doing it. I'm absolutely not playing that game with you or anyone else. The studio was in complete chaos now. Producers were frantically talking into their headsets, their voices urgent and panicked. Jennifer's team members were standing off to the side looking absolutely panicked and helpless. The audience didn't know whether to applaud, boo, gasp, or just sit in stunned silence. Most chose silence, sitting frozen like statues. Jennifer took a shaky, visible breath, trying desperately to regain some composure and control. Samuel, I really think we need to take a step back here for a moment. This is getting completely out of hand in a way neither of us intended. I didn't mean to upset you like this. I truly didn't. I was trying to have what I thought would be a substantive, meaningful conversation about important issues. Substantive? Samuel shook his head vigorously. There's nothing substantive about putting someone on trial for their career choices in front of an audience. There's nothing meaningful about questioning someone's authenticity or their commitment to their community in this public forum. That's not journalism or meaningful dialogue. That's judgment disguised as curiosity. I'm not judging you, Jennifer insisted, but her voice wavered badly, lacking conviction. I swear I'm not. I'm asking you to engage with criticism that exists out there in the world. That's all. That's what good interviews are supposed to do. They're supposed to address the tough topics. No, Samuel said firmly, his voice like iron. Good interviews are supposed to be conversations between two people. They're supposed to be respectful exchanges. What you did was set a trap, frame a loaded question, and wait for me to step in it. And when I reacted like any human being would, you acted shocked and surprised that I didn't just sit here and meekly take it. Jennifer's hands were visibly shaking now, trembling at her sides. I set a trap? Are you serious? With that accusation? I asked one question, Samuel. One single question about a topic you yourself have addressed before publicly. The fact that you're reacting this strongly and defensively makes me think maybe there's actually something to the criticism. Maybe there's something you're genuinely defensive about deep down. That was absolutely the wrong thing to say. Samuel's eyes flashed with pure, unfiltered anger. His voice, when he spoke, was dangerously quiet. Oh, so now you're psychoanalyzing me? Now you're going to sit there and tell me what I'm really feeling? What I'm really thinking? This just keeps getting better and better. I'm not psychoanalyzing you, Jennifer said, but she was on the defensive now. I'm observing that your reaction is disproportionate to what I asked. Disproportionate, Samuel repeated. You question my integrity, my choices, my commitment to my community, and my reaction is disproportionate? That's what you're going with? I didn't question your integrity. Jennifer was nearly shouting now, completely flustered. I asked about balance. I asked how you think about these complex issues. Those are valid questions. Not the way you asked them, Samuel countered. Not with that framing. Not with that implication that I need to answer to you or anyone else about my career. Jennifer threw up her hands in frustration. Fine. Okay. I'm sorry if the question offended you. I apologize for how I framed it. Can we please move on and continue the conversation? Move on? Samuel looked at her incredulously. You think we can just move on from this? You think I'm going to sit back down and pretend like this didn't happen? Like you didn't just try to put me in a box and make me defend my entire life's work? I'm trying to salvage this interview, Jennifer said, her voice pleading now. I'm trying to find a way forward. Because the alternative is that you walk out and nobody wins in that scenario. You should have thought about that before you asked your question, Samuel said coldly. You should have considered the consequences before you decided to go there. Jennifer looked at him for a long moment, and you could see multiple emotions crossing her face. Anger, hurt, frustration, regret. So, that's it? You're just going to leave? You're going to storm off my show because I asked one challenging question? I'm leaving because I don't appreciate being ambushed, Samuel said, reaching for his microphone. I'm leaving because I have better things to do than defend myself to people who've already made up their minds about me. Nobody's made up their mind about you, Jennifer protested, weakly. That's not true. Then why ask the question the way you did? Samuel pulled off his microphone and dropped it on the couch. The thud echoed through the silent studio. Why frame it as a problem that needs explaining? Why not ask me about my career with respect and genuine curiosity instead of skepticism and judgment? Jennifer didn't have an answer to that. She just stood there, tears now visibly running down her face, watching one of the biggest stars in Hollywood prepare to walk off her show. Samuel looked at her one more time, and his voice when he spoke was quieter, but no less intense. You know what the real problem is, Jennifer? It's not that I've taken certain roles or made certain choices. The real problem is that we tear each other down instead of building each other up. We question each other's authenticity instead of celebrating each other's success. And you just did that to me, on your show, in front of all these people. Samuelite. Jennifer started, but he held up a hand to stop her. I'm done, he said simply. This interview is over. And with that, Samuel L. Jackson turned and walked off. The Jennifer Hudson Show. His footsteps were heavy and deliberate as he moved across the stage. The cameras followed him as he went, capturing every moment of his exit. The audience sat in absolute shock, some people with their hands over their mouths, others just staring in disbelief. Jennifer stood frozen in place, tears streaming down her face, watching him go. Her producers rushed to her side, but she waved them away. She looked devastated, like she couldn't believe what had just happened, what had just unfolded on her show. Samuel reached the exit and pushed through the door without looking back. The door closed behind him with a heavy slam that seemed to punctuate the entire confrontation, and just like that, he was gone. The studio remained in shocked silence for several long seconds before someone finally called for a commercial break. But the damage was done. The confrontation was over. Samuel L. Jackson had walked off the Jennifer Hudson Show, and everyone who witnessed it would remember the intensity, the anger, and the complete breakdown of what was supposed to be a celebration of a legendary career.